Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and welcome to the Silver Lining, the weekly geekly talk show where we chat about whatever we feel like talking about. I am your host, Silver Greg, aka Uncle Silver, aka Greg, whatever you feel like calling me. And I'd like to welcome you, my co-host, the chat. I love having you guys here so that we can talk back and forth with each other, because sometimes it's fun for me to talk to myself, but it's always better when I'm pretty sure the voices are actually responding to me. AKA Johnny's uncle. Yeah, Ryan, that's probably how most people know me. First, I want to apologize. The show's been sort of my streaming schedule has been a little wonky lately. I had the last few weeks off, and I was hoping to do a whole lot of streaming, and I did a whole lot of other stuff. So the schedule went a little crazy. I don't think we've had a Silver Lining for the past couple of weeks, actually, right? We didn't have one last Friday. We didn't have one the Friday before, and then I don't remember if we had the one before that. I think we did, yeah, because we did the E3 discussion. The 2 Fridays ago, I went to Too Many Games, which was a fantastic convention. If you haven't seen my video on that, go over to Some Call Me Johnny, and I believe it was there. And I did like a 20-minute segment where I talked about the experiences there. And then last Friday we went to the beach because it was going to be my birthday on July 2nd. So I wanted to, and it's a big birthday. I turned 40. I should today's topic probably should have been about that, but we have a different topic lined up. But so I turned 40, so I said, you know what? It's a big birthday. I love going to the beach. So I want to be at the beach. I love watching the sunrise. So I wanted to wake up on my birthday, go watch the sunrise, and then go have pancakes at my favorite pancake place ever. It's called Uncle Bill's. We go to Ocean City, New Jersey. And there's a couple of Uncle Bill's scattered around the Jersey beaches, but we go to the one in Ocean City because we go to Ocean City whenever we get a chance to. And their pancakes are amazing. But hello everybody, Ryan, Squeak, Rocks, Rye, Flipnote, Elements, I think I said Ryan already. If I did not, then Ryan, Mendez, Iggy and Fire, there we go. E0, what's going on everybody? But, oh, thank you for the birthday wishes. I see that there. Walker Brothers on my breakfast place of choice. See, we've all got that place, you know what I mean? Maybe we'll do that next week. Maybe we'll talk about like big birthdays and what we like to do for our big birthdays. Because some people, I'm normally somebody that doesn't care about my birthday, but you know what? It was 40th. Like, I think I'm at a point where I care about the milestone birthdays. You know, 40, I'll probably do something really special for 45. 50 is probably going to be a gigantic blowout. I think for my 50th birthday, I think I will go and finally pre-order Kingdom Hearts 3 since it won't be out yet. I absolutely love. Yeah, Ryan, you know what? I don't hate my birthday. I just don't normally care too much about it. But like I said, for the milestone birthdays, I do want to make sure that I celebrate in some sort of fashion. Like, normally the thing that I do is I just normally take off of work and then I do whatever I feel like doing, which normally involves me doing a whole lot of nothing and not feeling guilty about it. Because God knows I feel guilty about doing nothing when I'm at home. You have a normal birthday. I'm stuck on February 14th. Ryan, my birthday is 2 days before the 4th of July. Trust me, it's not the most normal. Not to mention that there were a few years where like July 2nd was a big deal. Like, movies were coming out on July 2nd and they were, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the biggest celebration of days or anything, but for some reason it seems to be perfectly settled around the 4th of July. Free fireworks stuff, which fireworks are nice, but I don't go crazy about fireworks. Normally for the 4th of July, I just end up playing this game called Fantavision on the PS2, which was a fireworks game. That's normally what I end up doing. Hey, if this ever gets to Sony, could you please do a 4K version of Fantavision, because that was such a fun game. My birthday's kind of weird too. November 6th, voting mania. Yeah, see, you're right around voting day. Flip, no, you don't celebrate birthdays. That's why you don't have to celebrate. I don't think everybody has to celebrate birthdays, but I do think that should be one personal day for yourself. So if your idea of taking the day for yourself is not doing anything, I think that's what you should do. I've always believed that, we have Father's Day and Mother's Day and Grandparents' Day and all these days, and there's Christmas, there's all these holidays and everything. I always believe that your birthday should be your own personal holiday. That doesn't mean you have to go out. It doesn't mean you have to have a blowout party or anything. It just means that maybe you take that day completely for yourself. That's all it has to be. And 9 out of 10 times it's right after school starts. Minion, around us, school always starts right around Labor Day. It never starts in August. What did video games do this time? Yeah, that's what we're going to end up talking about. I just realized your birthday is right after my dad's birthday. His is the 1st of July. Yeah, I had a buddy of mine that his birthday was the 1st of July, a real good friend of mine in high school. And we used to take those 2 days, and he would come and crash at the house, and we would just be... We would get properly toasted for 2 days. I haven't done that in forever, and I haven't talked to him in forever, so I don't know if he still does that, but we always turn it into like a 2-day blowout. It was always pretty cool too, because the July 1st and July 2nd are like the dead center of the year. So we used to take those 2 days. It was always a goofy thing. I hate Valentine's Day because it reminds me that I'll probably die. Rocks, if you die alone and you have a good time, you're not unhappy. Alone, always remember something, Rocks. I'm gonna give a little bit of advice right here. Always remember, alone doesn't mean unhappy. It just means by yourself. Let me ask you, have you ever gone somewhere with somebody who ruins the whole experience? They talk during the movie. All they do is complain about dinner. They don't like where they're going. All they do is whine about it. You would have been happier doing that thing alone than you would with that person. Alone and happy are two different things. I never heard birthdays described. Yeah, birthdays are real blue hair. The birthdays are your personal holiday. That's really what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be not for you to celebrate, but for you to do whatever you want. If you want to celebrate, if you want to go out and have a blowout, that's fine. If you want to sit around and play games all day, go for it. I always buy myself something. I always pick a game or something that I buy myself as a happy birthday to me. I used to do that on Valentine's Day too. Greg, I saved an old lady from dying yesterday. Suave. Okay, I want to get to our topic, but I want to hear that story because that sort of thing happened to me the other day too. But yeah, I want to hear that story because I was driving along and I saw from the road an old woman. She had her walker and she fell and she hit the ground, and so I whipped into the parking lot and I jumped out, and a whole bunch of people came around and we were all helping her, and she was like bleeding and stuff, but we helped her out for the ambulance to get there. That's very weird that you said that because that just happened to me. Oh, that's so weird. Yeah, Iggy, I'm usually happy by myself. That's really the way it is sometimes. It's that, and that's how you know when you found someone that is important. A lot of people, they don't like the idea of being by themselves, and so they cling to whoever they can. You know you found somebody that you really, really should be with when being around them makes everything better. And in the times when things aren't great, you know that you would rather them be with you than not with you. That's how you know you've got something good there. Like I said before, all I did on my birthday was watch your stream, and I was satisfied. Yeah, Rocks. Rocks, was it my? Oh, here we go. Did it die? Oh no, wait, it came back. Hold on. It looks like we're back. Oh my god. Oh, hold on a second. Ethian? Is it Ethian or Ethian? You seem like a nice dude. You're our bit winner. Woo! Thank you, Ethian. I'm gonna say Ethian, or should I say Ethian? Yeah, we're back. It dropped really quick, so hopefully that's it. Thank you for that, Ethian. Ethian. Damn it! You said the first one. Low, soft E or hard E? There we go. Because hard E is like ether. Yeah, just a small buffer. No, that was a small buffer. Cause I'm dancing with myself. I wanna dancing with myself. Is it normal? The thing that makes me more happy is to help make other people happy. No, E0, that's a good thing. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to helping other people. They always say that helping people is its own reward. That's how it's supposed to be its own reward. When you put a smile on somebody's face, and that makes you happy, that's probably the best way you could be selfish. is to say I help people because it makes me feel good. It's like, yeah, technically it's selfish, but there are worse ways to be selfish than that. What did I miss about this controversial topic? Well, CT, we haven't started with that yet. But hold on, let me see. Suave. So I had this exam training. I went to a community center where a lot of old people were eating. Oh, okay, I mixed that up. I didn't see the period there, Suave. I thought that said a lot of old people were eating a lady. A lady went to the bathroom and suddenly started choking on food. Me and a classmate helped get the food out of her throat, and then gave her a glass of water. Very nice, very nice. Thank you on behalf of that lady for helping her out. That's my life in a nutshell. I love helping people, especially my friends, because it feels good. You know, it feels good, man. It's always good to, yeah. Punctuation is important. Yeah, I read it really quick, and I'm like, they were eating a lady, and I'm guessing you stopped them. All right, I want to get into today's topic because this is going to end up turning into a rant, and I'm probably going to come across very annoyed, and that is because this is not the first time I've seen this, and it is driving me crazy. It pisses me off every time I see it. So I am going to go. I'm going to not go get infuriated, but there is going to be a little bit of anger here. Apparently now Fortnite addiction is a thing, or video game addiction. I'm sorry. They keep showing pictures of Fortnite when they say it, but video game addiction is a thing. And so now video games are being blamed for yet another thing. And I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of video games being blamed for childhood obesity. I have seen video games be blamed for in my time from playing NES. From playing Atari, but it's really started with NES. I have watched video games be blamed for sort of, Mamba. We talked a little bit about this. I've watched video games be blamed for physical pain, like neck. They used to have something called Nintendo neck, where the kids would sit on the floor and look up, and then it would hurt their necks. I've seen video games get blamed for childhood obesity. I've seen video games get blamed for violence more than a few times, for drug addiction, for now it's for addiction, and I'm kind of annoyed with it. To be fair, video game addiction is a thing. It's less about the game itself, though, and more about the mental aspect. Well, Ryan, that's exactly why I'm tired of it. That's exactly what my point is about all of this. I don't like the fact that it's called video game addiction. It already has a name, and it's called addiction. And that's where the problem is. Something is going on in somebody's life. They have an addictive personality. They don't have a grasp on the things that they're supposed to have a grasp on, and they escape into whatever it is that they like to do, whether it's food addiction, whether it's gambling, whether it's smoking and drug use. Well, drug use is a little different because there are physical attributes to that, but Yeah, TV neck. Yeah, somebody they tried to call it that. I'll try to hold myself from writing essays in the chat about this topic because it pisses me off. Yeah, and there you go, Minion. That's exactly it. That they just throw it under the bus. Every time something becomes popular, it always gets talked about. You're right about that, Rox. It is always something. Well, the mental functions of game addiction are different than addiction to, say, alcohol or sex. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, Ryan. I get that it needs its own classification, but I'm just kind of annoyed that the immediate thing is to blame the thing. You know, when someone has a drug addiction, you try and stop them from getting drugs, but you treat them. You know, when they have gambling, the gambling addiction is one that came up really, really big years and years ago. You try and keep them away from gambling, and you try and keep gambling away from them, but you also treat that. Video games, I feel like, aren't going to get treated so much as they're just going to tell people to stop playing video games. I don't think that I think that because it gets scapegoated so much, I think that the initial reaction is going to be, well, I don't want my kid playing video games. Okay, that's fine, except if your kid has something going on that is creating this addiction, they're going to get addicted to something else. So scapegoating video games is easy, but I have a feeling they're going to skip past the underlying problem of it all. And that's my problem with video games, because it happens every time. It's a video games with a cause a shooter. Minion, that's kind of the point. That's kind of my issue with all of this. When you say video game addiction, people are going to say that video games are the cause of it, and they're not the cause of it. There is a cause for the addiction, and video games are the outlet of that addiction. I worry that it's going to get treated wrong because of the way people act towards video games. And that's the thing. You know, anybody who has been through Alcoholics Anonymous, drug addiction, court treatments and stuff like that, sex addiction, Ryan mentioned sex addiction. Any of those kinds of treatments will involve a sort of psychological discussion where they're trying to figure out what is the underlying cause that leads them to this. Video games, I don't think they're going to get that. I think they're going to get, they're playing too many games, turn the games off. And what you're going to have now is hopefully not a generation. I don't like to use the word generation because it makes it sound like it's going to be millions of people. But hopefully what you're not going to have is a bunch of people who now don't get the proper treatment because somebody just took their video games away from them and then left them. That's what I don't want to happen. Fireworks blew up my hand. It's the manufacturer's fault. Yeah, and Lizard, you're right. Fireworks blew up my hand. It's the manufacturer's fault. It sounds ridiculous. It sounds ridiculous to just say that. Video games are just an outlet for social issue. And that's it. And that's it. All of those things are outlets. When you have some kind of addictive personality or something, the thing that you're doing that you're addicted to is usually the outlet for whatever it is that's going on. Most of the time, someone addresses what's going on. But with video games, they're just going to say, you don't do it. You can't do it. I'm going to take away his games. Could you imagine? Imagine it, and this is an extreme. This isn't the most accurate comparison, just because there is like we said with drugs, there is a physical component to it. But imagine saying that somebody is addicted to painkillers and just saying, okay, you're not going to get painkillers anymore. Okay, but they're probably in pain. I mean, the addiction probably started because they were in pain in the first place. And if they're still in pain and all you do is take away the painkillers, that's going to make things worse. You know, and that's sort of what it is. It's video games can be, yes, they can be addictive, and that's one thing that I probably should have started out with, because Ryan mentioned it before, and you're right. Playing video games too much is a legitimate problem. That is something that can start up. We saw it years ago with World of Warcraft addiction. We saw it before that with EverQuest addiction. We've seen it with Dungeons and Dragons addictions. We saw it with NES when the whole Nintendo Neck thing was going on. They were still also complaining just that their kids are playing too much. Every generation of video games seems to have had this subsection of people that video games are the cause. And video games are the response to the cause. You need to figure out what the cause is. And so it gets annoying when my hobby gets attacked, but I am also concerned that people aren't going to be getting the help that they need, but they're just going to make it worse. And I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. You know me, I go off on my rants. And that falls in the same corner as drug alcohol argument, where the object itself is inherently addictive. Yeah, I think that's the thing. It can be seen as addictive, and it is addictive. But why did it happen in the first place? You know, it's easy to look at a crack addict and say, oh, they're addicted to crack, you know, or heroin or anything like that. It's easy to say that, but more than likely, they weren't walking down the street and somebody stabbed them with a needle. You know, more than likely there were some things going on in their life. They were looking for some sort of escape. They turned to drugs, and then the drug use turned to drug addiction. Try and address what happened at the beginning. You know, maybe that thing isn't even going on anymore. It's easy to look at the addiction and say, you've got a problem and you got to stop doing it, and never figure out why the problem started in the first place, what was missing from their life that they were looking for, that they were trying to fill. That's important to do. And we do that with most addiction, but I do worry that it's not going to happen with a lot of people in this situation. A lot of times it's not even the game fault, it's just people being jackasses. Short version, game designers are finding ways to make gaming more fun and in more ways addicting. Yeah, and CT, and that's a thing that is real. That video game companies, they want they want you to play the game, obviously. But you know, so do drug addicts. They want you to buy the drugs too. And then the Nintendo, hey, you've been playing too. Oh yeah. Game addiction runs on a reward feedback loop problem. Yeah, Ryan, there was when I played Warcraft and the Warcraft addiction topics came up, which I was for a little while. I was pretty addicted to Warcraft. There was it was not a metaphor, because it was something that was really in the game, but it was the idea of chasing the glow. I think we used to call it chasing the glow, where you were trying to get stronger, you were trying to get stuff, all for that moment where your character lights up and they go up in level and they find the great item, and it was they gave you so many carrots to chase that you felt satisfied when you caught each one of them. And catching those carrots is easier to do in a game than it is in real life. And that's a lot of where the addiction comes from, the idea that this is amazing, because you know we joke all the time, I wish it was as easy to get money in real life as it is in video games. So when money problems really start to hit you, I don't know, you kind of look at the video games and say, oh yeah, I'm gonna kind of do this for a while. I mean, that's a little more literal, but it does kind of happen. You escape into this thing, and it's like I think about my life, my real life, and I think about all the things that I want but can't buy. And then I think about video games, where if I do some quests, I can earn enough money to buy the things that I want in the game. So you start to focus a little bit more on the game. Super Christian Panther, I found out the concept of Bayonetta. Minion, I worked at a game store, and I had parents that went and bought a game called Kagero's Deception, which was Tecmo's Deception 2. It was like a trap-based game. Like, you tried to set traps to kill the people that were coming into the house. It turned out the point was that you were trying to kill enough people to raise Satan. So they brought it back 2 days later and were unpleased. The treatment of taking stuff away in this day and age no longer works. Yeah, we have access to stuff to the point where. Oh, I saw somebody said something about canceling cable because the internet is ruining individuality. That's a whole nother topic that I do want to get into. Sorry to backtrack. That was on my brain. People blame the easy option because they don't want to think about that. No, Minion. Minion says people blame the easy option because they don't want to think about the reason or the source. No, because they don't want to think about the solution. That's the problem. I think it's easy for them to think about the reason that things happen, but most of the time they know that complicated problems have complicated solutions, and they don't want to deal with the complicated solution. So they look towards the easy scapegoat because it's the easy fix. That's why. Then there's Color Splash, making fun drug addictions. I own Disgaea 3 and 4, which is all about demonhood and killing angels and God. Yeah, but it's about angels and killing God, but it's in a fun, colorful setting. What's wrong with Disgaea? Okay, hold on. Playing video games for 25 years. I think I turned. Yeah, I've been playing video games for, God, 35 years. 36 years since Atari 2600. And I have been playing video games for about 36 years, and the only time I thought about killing people wasn't because of video games. It was usually because of traffic. It also has huge wish fulfillment, like Animal Crossing. Yeah, and of not having that. Yeah, there's and Ryan, there are. It's sort of like we said. Like there's goal setting that you can do in video games, and it's easier to achieve those goals than it is to achieve those goals in real life. So a lot of the time people turn to the video game, and that's fine. I think that we've talked about this before. We had a topic here before about that, using video games as escapism. And it's fine as long as you're not taking it to the point where you are neglecting the things that you need to do in real life in exchange for playing the game. That's the problem. That's when it starts to get dangerous. Because yes, that's where you start to get into the addiction issue. Laser Flame. Okay, so I was correct. Okay, so yeah, we'll have to get into that because that is an interesting topic. Some people have a sex addiction. We should ban sex. Yeah, ain't nobody saying that. But there are a lot of things that need to be dealt with in that. I made a pact with the demon world. Got to kill angels. Super Christian. So, oh my God, yeah. Why I shouldn't believe. Well, that's, I don't know. That's a different issue. You know what's funny? I'm gonna dip into something a little bit dangerous here, and I'm not gonna dip into it. I'm literally gonna dip my toe in it and leave. So don't even try and keep it going. Minion, you're talking about the super Christian priest who saw a Kid Icarus Uprising poster. Religion is an addiction for some people. There are some people who they if you've ever known anybody who thinks that praying for something is more valuable than going out and actually working hard for something, that's someone who's teetering on religious addiction. That is something that needs to be kind of addressed. That's all we're going to say about that. I played games about heaven and hell, building the mightiest team. I mean, the most I played about heaven and hell was the Rafa and Malik in Final Fantasy Tactics, and I hated those characters. All right, we're jumping ahead here. Something Ready Player One. Oh God, yeah. Unfortunately, Ready Player One was so unenjoyed. I didn't get to see it, but it was so unenjoyed, nobody cared. Judging by the topic, it must be something to do with non-gamers who say video games are causing... Oh, yeah, Siberian Ninja. Yeah, we're talking about video games, the video game addiction thing, but then video games kind of getting blamed for everything. And it's not a new problem. That is something that I did want to touch on. The idea of video games getting blamed is not a new problem, it almost annoys me that people act like it is, because like I mentioned at the top of the show, that kind of happens all the time. You know, when there's violence, it was video games' fault. When there's drug addiction, people, I'm not even exaggerating when I say there was a small point where people tried to blame Mario for drug addiction because he gets stronger when he eats mushrooms. Unbelievable. Like the idea that you can grab that and try and run with it as a platform against video games makes it sound like you're doing mushrooms. Like, are you sure that you're all there? Like, that seems a little weird. Ready Player One is like if it's TV and Netflix or if it's $5. Okay. I have no religion. I'm not atheist or anything like that. I just really don't have a religion. Rocks, yeah, that can be a little. We're not that far off. Can't wait for the religious people to find binding of eyes. Oh man. I mean, mostly really old people not understanding new stuff, which is ironic since the boomers who did all the drugs in the no, that Ryan, it's not ironic. That's why they don't understand things, because they did all the drugs in the 60s. Yeah, I mean, we've always made the joke about Mario and shrooms. Yeah, somebody tried to do that. Yeah, I've seen that too, Suave. The whole Pac-Man is a metaphor for like it's for pill addiction. I don't know. I've seen it for gluttony, but yeah, I've seen it for pill addiction too, and it's just a big joke. Like, I don't know. It just gets kind of on my nerves. It gets a little under my skin that I'm tired of this hobby being the scapegoat, and and I'm not sure why. And that's the thing. Maybe you guys can help me out. Why is it the scapegoat? That's probably my biggest question about it. Why is it a scapegoat for the things that go wrong when there are other things that it could theoretically be blamed equally or even more? Like, we talk about aggression in people. We talk about aggression, and video games make people aggressive and violent. But don't we live in a subculture where things like football are almost, I gotta use this word because it is a strong word, but they're almost deified, aren't they? Like football itself. You know, you look at all this stuff and it's like, oh, you would say, oh, this is my shrine to video games. This is my collection of video games. I've been to people's houses where they have glass cases with autographed things with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise because people wrote their name on it. And it's like, isn't that just as extreme? I don't know. It just like you're taking a whole hobby, and it's not hobby, but a whole activity, and the activity is based on aggression. You know, based on aggression and based on competition. Other sports are sort of like that. You know, I think football and hockey, I think, are the biggest examples. But they are based solely on aggression, on combat. They are metaphors for combat. They simulate a battle. When you go into battle and and that's what they are. So how do they not get blamed for high levels of aggression? I don't understand. If anything, people go out and they dress their kids up in these things, and then Pee-wee football, it will astound me forever. I don't understand Pee-wee football. Like, just the idea that people talk about how they don't want to raise their children to be aggressive, and then they put helmets on them and tell them to slam into each other. Like, and I don't mean to feel like I'm attacking sports. I'm just saying that the way video games get blamed for everything, there are other things that are equally, if not more, blamable. I don't know if that's the word. But everybody looks past them. And yes, football is sort of worshipped, but you can get sports, yeah. And that's the thing is sports fans are insane. They have the nerve to make fun of us. Video games are for losers. Only sports is good for big, strong men, even if it's darts. I've seen people get pretty hype about some darts. I made a paper about this. A lot of religious people are in constant fight. Stop scrolling down. against the world and its temptation, so they look really hard to find all the traps, and they end up finding something that isn't there. Yeah, it's E0. That becomes a situation of exactly that, of you're looking so hard for something that it's finding the shapes in the clouds. To me, it's like finding the shapes in the clouds. The clouds aren't shaped like anything, but if you look hard enough, you're going to see something. You know, and then when you see it, you're going to believe that you were meant to see it. You say wrong word with the best of intentions to a sports fan. Minion, I almost got into that once. I was talking to somebody, and I was talking to him, and he said something about video games. We were talking about video games or something, and he's like, it's like a waste of time and stuff. And I looked at him and I went, oh, kind of like a bunch of grown men getting together and play a game of glorified catch. And he immediately went, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I looked at him and I said, oh, it's not the same when it's somebody talking about the thing that you like, but you think it's okay to bash what I like right in front of me. And he didn't say another word after that. Competitive tiddlywinks. Mambo, competitive tiddlywinks. I've seen competitive vaping. So there you go. Boomers still in charge. Boomers don't understand technology. Boomers blame scary new thing. Yeah, and Ryan, so maybe it's time to get the boomers out of there. Maybe it's time to start hitting up those voting booths and vote for the younger people who, I hate to sound like an ageist, but I think one of the easiest ways to make sure that somebody might have a better grasp on technology is to start voting the younger people in. People are so quick to call video game collection junk, but they'll call sports stuff memorabilia. Yeah, it's video games, but it's sports memorabilia. It's a football with somebody's name on it. You paid $300 for a football with somebody's name on it, which I'm not gonna complain. I mean, that's what you want to do, but let's not act like your thing is holier than my thing. I mean, I've seen, and I try not to zero in on sports, but it is the biggest example. But I've seen the people, and I've said it before, I've seen the people who they think that video games and toys and all that stuff are stupid, and then they spend thousands of dollars every year on new Christmas decorations. Huh? You know, I throw some lights up and some candy canes, and you're good. You know, but they want to go all out. They want to share it with everybody. They want to create this spectacle that other people can see and enjoy. And it's like, maybe that's what's happening. Maybe that's what is also happening over here, and you choose not to see it. People who joke about my video games, people who have joked about my video games, and they collect coins. Huh? I don't know. Major League Vape. People blame certain books. Yeah, Squeak. And that's sort of the point that I was making, where it's not even new. It's not even new for video games. People used to blame books. They still blame books. The schools that pull like Harry Potter and stuff like that out of the library. What? Honestly, agree, Gray. If there's a minimum age to serve, there should be age limits for senators and congressmen. Yeah, I think so. Most of the people in government are so ridiculously out of touch with today's society. And Ryan, that's because society now is so big. In addition to the age thing, society is so big, it's almost impossible to know what everybody's going through. You know, and that becomes an issue. That's why I think that I find it odd that no matter how big the state is, it gets two people to represent it. You've got a million places that those two people have never seen before. How can they accurately represent that? You know, I don't know. I don't think that works. Coin collecting is the nerdiest thing I've ever heard of. I don't know. Stamp collecting used to be pretty big. Or at the very least, term limits. If a president has 2 term limits, yeah. I don't know. Senators, I could have sworn senators had term limits, but congressmen don't. But I'll be honest, I don't know as much about politics as I should. Probably as we all should. I used to collect stamps and rubber ducks. Elements, I know somebody who collects rubber ducks. I don't know if she still does. Like, I don't think she does it actively. I think it's just when you go, so you know, the people who do the spoons. Like when you travel somewhere, you buy a spoon. Hey, a spoon. When you travel somewhere, you buy the spoon with the state's name on it or something. I think she was like that. Like, oh, look, rubber duck, it's got the state's name, or it's wearing a funny hat or something, and she get it. She was not the, I'm going to go to Goodwill and buy as many rubber ducks as they have. Like, it wasn't like that. Society has turned to once important role of government officials who was like a commander, now it's an overseer, is now a career. Yeah, it is. It's being a politician now is more of a career that is meant to make them money. I saw a thing, and I wish I had read the article because I didn't know we were going to talk about this. I saw a thing that was talking about how it was a TED Talk, and I didn't watch the TED Talk. There's a TED Talk about what if public offices were held by random people, and I didn't watch it, and it got me thinking, like the way we pick like jury duty and stuff. It would be interesting if public offices were held almost as sort of a randomized thing. I think it would be very fascinating. I collect depression. My collection is quite big. Ow. You know what pisses me off more than anything is where people who literally rub their sexuality in your face. Okay. Flaming Rubies, that goes multiple ways. The only position that has term limits is the president. No other political position. Yeah, I could have sworn the senators had something like that. The maximum number of terms a president can be is 2 offices. Yeah. It's a weird thing too, Hero Chaos. It's like the maximum a president can sit is 1 day before 10 years. It's like a weird thing. I always remember that from school. Politicians are now a career. Yeah, there you go, CT. It doesn't feel like a duty anymore. It feels like a career that they're doing. But yeah, I don't know. I think that focusing on that stuff, would help to take video games and things like that out of that limelight. I think that a 30-year-old politician who grew up playing video games, who grew up in a world with video games, would be the most likely person to sit in a political setting, to sit in the House and say, there's no way that it is the blame because I did it. And here I am. And that's, and we've seen this. We're seeing this all the time. We saw the internet get blamed for stuff, and nobody, I don't think people blame the internet too much anymore. Who was that? Lazy Flame? Lazy Flame. If I got that right. I don't know if you're still here. I know there was that, where the internet is separating people. Now, I've had that discussion before. So I would tell you that I've had that discussion before, if you're still here. The one thing I would say against that discussion, the main point I would say against that discussion is that it has done more good than bad. That's almost like saying that society has gone downhill because people get into car accidents. Yes, people get into car accidents. Some people get hurt and some people die. But the growth of society due to things like automobiles is dramatically outweighs any negative that it's done. And I do feel that way about the internet. I think that anything that you could say that the internet has bad going for it is outweighed by the level of connectivity that we have, by the ability for people who felt isolated, especially in our community, to now connect with other people similar to that. The information transfer that we get from it, because there is almost no such thing as bad information. Any information informs us and gives us the ability to make better decisions about the things that we are going to do. So I would never do that. But Shadow, this is the silver lining, but we're not talking about Steven Universe right now. But yeah, I do like the idea of getting people in there who are only been going for 54 minutes or 45. There you go. But yeah, I do like the idea of getting people in who are able to identify and just stop blaming these random things for, you know, for games and stuff like that. Just stop blindly blaming them for the problem, and maybe start to realize, and we said before, we talked about how they don't want to look at the problem, the real problems. They don't want to look at the real solutions. It's easy. It's too easy for them to say, well, video games are an addiction, and then that's it. It's easier for them to do that than for them to say, well, they're addicted to video games because their home life is not good. Their school life is not good. Their work life is not good. And it's going to take a lot to change those things. And they want to ignore that because they know that in order to fix those things, it is a significant problem. Blaming is easier than solving problems. Blaming is easier than solving problems. And when you look at the problem and you see how big the problem is and you realize how big the solution needs to be, they'll run right to the. Ironically, it's the same thing that they're blaming people for. It's the same thing that they're blaming video gamers for. Like we said, life is difficult, so you escape into the video game in order to do something that is easier that you can handle. Blaming video games for what's going wrong in the world is the same exact thing. There's this giant set of things that you need to do, and you feel like you can't, so you escape into this easy version of it. That's funny. It takes 2 seasons before you can actually get good. Without the internet, I would have never found a place where I belong. In King Chaos, and that's true for so many people, that you find, even if you don't find a place, quote unquote, where you belong, you find people that make you belong, you know, that help you belong, and that's an important thing. Some of the stuff the video games get blamed for a lot, it's just BS anyway. There's the reality is that some of the stuff that it gets blamed for, there are no simple answers for. There's no, you know, our society is growing more and more violent as CT sends a slap through through the command. If you could say that there are people who get their aggression up through video games, there are also people who get their aggression up through sports. There are also people who get their aggression up through not having a decent meal because they can't afford it, or they don't have proper housing, or they don't have medical care and they're sick, or there are a million other things that aren't their fault whatsoever, and they have to deal with it, so that raises their aggression levels. I don't see anybody trying to fix that stuff. You know, I don't know. It just drives me crazy. That's why I wanted to kind of talk about it. I knew I was going to end up raging, and not raging, but I knew there was a lot that I needed to get out there, so I figured I'd bring it here. Not gonna lie, I was depressed until I discovered the internet when I was 7 or 8. When I was 9, I discovered YouTube. Yes. Flaming Rubies, YouTube is going to start depressing you again if you're a content creator. Let's all ignore politics and play Fortnite. Oh boy, there goes more politics. Screw the news and live your life suave. That's what I've been doing. I hate to say it. I hate burying my head in the sand because I know that it's not the good thing to do, but it's kind of what I have to do to keep my sanity, at least a little while. Personal gripe here: playing video games too much isn't an addiction; it's a compulsion. That's a good distinction. It's not an addiction; it's a compulsion. I contended with that in my childhood due to being bullied and ostracized. Likewise, Hero. Addiction implies negative impact on your physical health. Yeah, compulsion doesn't. Maybe good point, Swap. Maybe not that Fortnite thing. Video games are an addiction, but there are many other things that can lead to violent act. Yeah, you know, movies and TV shows. Like, I will never say that video games don't cause that in some people, but it's the same as any of those other reasons. And the reality is, if you're taking your cues of what to do in society and how to treat other people negatively, and you're taking them from video games, you're taking them from movies, you're taking them from sports, you're taking them from any other activities, doesn't matter, you've got problems way before any of that started. There's something going on, that you are not listening to the right things and you don't have the right influences in your life. That's what needs to be focused on. I was bullied a lot as a kid, which made me pretty easy to made me pretty easy to straight up explode, which happened for a time. I had a little bit of that. I was more of a retreater. I exploded every once in a while, but I was more, I'm going to escape everything. I'm taking to staying away. Hold on. I'm taking to stay away from political discussions because no one seems to want to discuss it. Yeah, they want to be right. That's a good point, Squeak. Well, notice we got into it really quick and then I jumped out of it fast. And remember the interview film. Oh, I didn't see that. Shadow. I'll have to look that up. The summer class made me leave, but I'm done now. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to talk about that a little bit just because it was kind of pissing me off, and my biggest concern, and this is what I'm gonna say to you guys, and this is gonna be a little weird, but you know me, I always get like this every once in a while. If you do have that, if you do find that you are playing a game so much that you are neglecting to do the most important things in your life, if you find that you are trying to escape more than you really should be, if you have trouble putting down the controller and taking care of yourself, if you do feel like there is an addiction sort of thing going on, if people are telling you that there is an addiction thing or a compulsory thing going on, I do urge you to take a step back. I'm not saying they're right and you're wrong or vice versa. I'm saying to take a step back, evaluate what's going on in your life at the time. If you're working, or if you guys are on, if some of you guys are on summer break from school, or if you're just off from work, if you've got a day off of work and everything is taken care of and you choose to spend 6 hours playing a video game and somebody wants to tell you you shouldn't be taking you shouldn't be playing a video game for 6 hours, they're probably wrong. You have every right to spend your free time doing the things that you like to do, and if that's what you like to do, then that's fine. If you are regularly late for work or late for appointments, or you haven't eaten, if you have ever found that you are starving and refuse to get up, I would urge you to take a step back and just evaluate what you're doing and make sure that that you are in control of yourself, because there are situations that is what compulsory and addiction are. They are you not being in control of yourself, and sometimes that's difficult to see from the inside of it. So if you do feel like you're getting to a point where that is an issue, I do urge you to take a step back, evaluate your life, evaluate what's going on in that particular situation and all around that situation, because it's easy to say, oh, well, I don't think I'm playing video games too much. And then when you take a step further back and you look at the rest of your life and you say, oh, well, work hasn't been going great. My diet has been bad. I went to the doctors and they told me that things weren't going well. You may see a bunch of things that say, these are bad things. I may be having a negative reaction to it. And then you may look at the gaming again and you may say, okay, yeah, when all of this stuff started, I went from 2 hours a day to 7 hours a day. That there looks kind of like a problem. And then I want you to evaluate yourself. It's no different than they tell you, if you feel like you've got a gambling addiction, call this number. If you feel like you're depressed, call this number. It's the same thing. I don't have a number for you to call. I would just say stop on in here and we'll chat about it. But I do urge you that if that is a thing, then take a step back. You might be surprised at what you see. You might be upset at what you see, but I would rather you be upset and help yourself than ignore it and let things get worse. The only Fester I want to see is in the Addams Family. Video game problem was bad when I was young, but now it's not. And what did you say earlier? Really pissed off and then Ted put things in perspective. Really showing me video games can be an addiction, which is set on my rate. Yeah, it's. Well, Zeta, we were talking about the idea of video game addiction and it's valid points, and it's the fact that I'm getting tired of video games getting blamed for everything. Uncle Fester. I learned all this the hard way because I hit rock bottom in college because of this. Honestly, the fact that I'm sitting here with this good 9-to-5 job is a shock for me, and that's, I still feel the struggle. Like, Hero, we all feel. That's the best thing I can tell you, is that we do all feel the struggle. It is there for all of us. It doesn't seem that way because it's easy for us to. Wait, what happened, Rox? Hold on. Rox, what did I miss? Oh, life pisses me off, but games calm me down and help me relax. I'm sure a lot of people feel that way. Yeah, it's relaxing. Addiction is a brain disorder. Video game addiction is talking about. All right, so Hydrated Bot showed up, so we've been here for an hour. I'm gonna take a few-minute break, and then what we're going to do is we'll do the viewer topics, and we can we'll take a sip for Hydrate. Okay, drop something there. We'll take a sip for Hydrated Bot. Cheers, Bot. All right, so we're gonna take about a 2-minute break, and then when we come back, we'll get into viewer topics. If you guys have anything you want to discuss, we'll just chat about it. So just give me a minute here. Okay. So yeah, just give me a minute, and we will be right back.